All right, church report on COINTELPRO. The first question you're going to answer, part one, is which, if any, U.S. did the U.S. government investigate and spy on? These are U.S. citizens. Why? If you don't think they should investigate or spy on anyone, explain why not. All right, now we are going to review this quick PowerPoint on J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI. All right, J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, from 1935 to 1972. In 1956, Hoover launched a secret program called COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program, which investigated and tried to discredit groups or people he thought threatened national security, especially communists. So we're back to the suspected American communists that we were talking about last week. In 1971, COINTELPRO ended after activists revealed its activities by stealing FBI files and giving them to the media. In 1976, Senator Frank Church led an investigation of COINTELPRO. His committee released a report, the Church Report, from which today's document is taken. All right, vocabulary. Domestic means inside the United States. Intelligence is information, often secret, that is gathered through investigation and is used by policymakers. Neutralize, to remove a danger. Trivial, unimportant. Degrading, embarrassing. Poison pen letter is a letter that contains accusations that a person has done something wrong, sent to that person's acquaintances in order to disrupt that person's life. Overtly is openly. Dissident is disagreeing with the government. Vigilante is a group that tries to seek justice by taking the law into their own hands. Propagation is spreading. Intolerable is unacceptable. Clandestine equals secret. Militant is using extreme or violent tactics. And a messiah is someone who is seen as a savior or hero. All right, so let's read the church report real quick. COINTELPRO is the FBI acronym for a series of covert action programs directed against domestic groups. In these programs, the Bureau went beyond the collection of intelligence to secret action defined to disrupt and neutralize target groups and individuals. The techniques were adopted wholesale from wartime counterintelligence, ranged from the trivial, mailing reprints of Reader's Digest articles to college administrators, to the degrading, sending anonymous poison pen letters intended to break up marriages, and the dangerous, encouraging gang warfare, correct that, and falsely labeling members of a violent group as police informers. COINTELPRO began in 1956 in part because of frustration with Supreme Court rulings limiting the government's power to proceed overtly against dissident groups. It ended in 1971 with the threat of public exposure. In the intervening 15 years, the Bureau conducted a sophisticated vigilante operation aimed squarely at preventing the exercise of First Amendment rights of speech and association, on the theory that preventing the growth of dangerous groups and the propagation of dangerous ideas would protect the national security and deter violence. Many of the techniques used would be intolerable in a democratic society, even if all the targets had been involved in violent activity. But COINTELPRO went far beyond that. The unexpressed major premise of the programs was that a law enforcement agency has the duty to do whatever is necessary to combat perceived threats to the existing social and political order. Covert action is the label applied to clandestine activities intended to influence political choices and social values. Who were the targets? 1. The 5 targeted groups. The Bureau's covert action programs are aimed at 5 perceived threats to domestic tranquility: the Communist Party, USA, 1956 to 1972, the Socialist Workers' Party program, 1961 and 1969, the White Hate Group program, specifically like the Ku Klux Klan, 1964 to 1971, the Black Nationalist Hate Group program, for example, Black Panther Party, 1967 to 1971, and the New Left program, communist socialists are example, 1968 to 1971. On March 4th, 1968, the program was expanded. The letter expanding the program lists 5 long-range goals for the program. 1, to prevent the coalition means bringing together, of militant black nationalist groups. 2, to prevent the rise of a messiah who could unify and electrify the movement, naming specifically Martin Luther King Jr., Stokely Carmichael, and Elijah Muhammad. 3, to prevent violence on the part of black nationalist groups by pinpointing potential troublemakers and neutralize them before they exercise their potential for violence. 4, to prevent groups and leaders from gaining respectability by discrediting them to responsible Negro community, to the white community, both the responsible community and the liberals, the distinction is the bureaus, and to Negro radicals. And 5, to prevent the long-range growth of these organizations, especially among youth, by developing specific tactics to prevent these groups from recruiting young people. So who wrote this report? Who are they addressing, and what is their main message? A United States Senator, Frank Church, the FBI's spying was on American citizens to bring exposure that the FBI was breaking the law in many of these actions. And 3, according to this report, why did the FBI, Hoover and the FBI launch COINTELPRO? And this was to disrupt and neutralize, to cause chaos in the groups and individuals they were investigating. Question 4 is your opinion. So most people think of Martin Luther King as a nonviolent activist. Does seeing his name among the targets of COINTELPRO make you suspect that he engaged in activities that endangered public safety? Or does it make you suspect that COINTELPRO was mistaken in its targets? Why? And then 5 is your opinion too. Do you think the FBI or other government agencies today have programs or goals similar to the COINTELPRO? So are we still investigating American citizens and trying to cause chaos in their groups and as individuals in their individual lives? What evidence would you provide for your answer? Hope this helped. Turn in when you're done.